Can I have the roll call, please?
Ms. Ashley? Mr. Bricker?
Here.
Ms. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Hayward?
Here.
Ms. McWinney? Mr. Rush?
Here.
Ms. Thompson? Councilman Browning?
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger?
Here.
Chairwoman Lash?
Here. Can I have a motion to excuse Ms. McWinney, Ms. Ashley, and Ms. Thompson?
So moved.
Second.
Just call roll, please.
Mr. Bricker?
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger?
Yes.
Chairwoman Lash?
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our January meeting?
Motion to approve. Second.
Call roll, please.
I hear someone coming in. Mr. Bricker?
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Councilman Browning?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Hibinger?
Yes.
Chairwoman Lash?
Yes.
And for the record, we have 702.
Let's prove her presence.
Okay, it looks like we will move on then to public comments. Are we holding any public comments? Okay, then we will move on to the update of the YMCA.
All right, everybody got the report? Needless to say, that doesn't change much from month to month until 3-month cycle. So a lot of the information is still the same from the previous meeting. A couple of things to point out. The Mother-Son Superhero Party that's coming up is sold out. Roger has about 570 people attending this event. So he asked me to relay that he needs as many volunteers as possible. So if any of you would like to do that, please contact Roger. And he will definitely have something for you to do. If you've not experienced this event, it's probably something you should stop by. It's very well attended. It's an exciting event. We actually honor some of our local superheroes, fire department, PD, those type of things. So it's very well ran. Roger does a fantastic job with that. So any questions, comments, suggestions?
Nothing for Jeremy?
Make my life easy.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right.
And we'll move on to the update of the parks.
Just a few updates. We're going to go through a few later, but one of the things we're working on right now is a Delaware Run Greenway. We're working with Ohio Wesleyan University. They have a section just right across the window out there between Sandusky and Henry that they need to look at doing some improvements to. So I've taken this opportunity to maybe get some students involved and kind of take a look at the whole greenway and maybe kind of come up with a vision, do some public charrettes. And we're still kind of developing what that is going to be, but we want to kind of focus on the whole greenway within the city limits and see what options there are there. This is kind of a project that's going to take a long time to see the vision comes through, but I think it's something that is definitely something needed, and I think it's a good opportunity to get the Ohio Wesleyan involved also. So you'll be hearing more about that as soon as we get some more information on that. But the other thing is the dog park is closed. We closed that last on the 15th just because of the soggy conditions. So the time's right for this. We haven't got any public feedback at this point because I think we advertised it early enough and put it on social media and everywhere. So we actually fertilized the fields today, so or actually overseeded the fields today. So that gives us a chance to really protect that turf. And on a day like today, it can get destroyed in a day. I think this has worked out well. We had some problems with it last year, but I think with this new schedule, it works out well. The water fountains, we're going to start installing water fountains. I don't know if the new design that has a water bottle filler in a lot of these, so you'll start seeing those. So if you get any input on that, please let me know. I'm hoping it's a hit with everybody. We did meet with the pickleball folks, and we are moving forward with the Smith courts, getting some lines out there, at least right now. They're going to talk with Dee a little bit. We're going to look at maybe some grants, but also they're going to look at raising some funds maybe to get some of the wind nets and get the lights possibly out there also in the future. But right now, I think we should be able to get them up and playing this summer out there. Because I think that just putting the lines down, I think we've got a cost of about $2,000. I think we found some money in our budget where we can get that done. So, and they're a pretty big group, so I think it's worthwhile. We are introducing a motion or an ordinance at council for beer sales at Hidden Valley Golf Course as part of the sustainability plan. So we'll see how that progresses, and that's the updates.
Any questions or comments about parks? Okay, we will move on then to the William Street tree mitigation plan.
I just wanted to update the board on this. So you've noticed the William Street trees started coming up for the roadway project, and we did have a plan where we wanted to mitigate these trees as near the site as possible. So we've located 4 sites. A being Bennett Park, newly renamed East Side, or formerly East Side Park, where we have some room to put some trees there. I think we had a total, but it's I think it was a total of 110 caliber inches that were coming out of William Street. So we didn't want to just jam them in any park. So that's why we're looking at 4 different locations, because we had Doug go out and look at these, and there's areas at all these that we can comfortably put the amount of trees we need to meet our mitigation goals there. So I know that they haven't got a lot of comments out there. I mean, I know so there's some blow-ups on social media when the trees were coming out, but I know when the contractors were out there, some of the people were thanking them for some of the trees coming out because they couldn't take care of them themselves. So I think it's gone as smoothly as possible at this point. So any questions?
As far as replacing the trees, do you have to replace it inch for inch in some form of fashion?
Yeah, the caliper inch. Yep. We got them all, the trees measured, and I can't read that on there, but that's what that number, and that's the number of trees we based it on. I think it's a total of 100 trees, and I think we had 233 caliper inches we had to replace.
220.
Is that correct?
It says 220.
220. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we worked with the engineering department to come up with those and come up with the sites also.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Review of the Lime Bike Share Program.
Okay, so you're probably familiar with these bike share programs that are kind of sweeping across the nation right now. So, Delaware is kind of a small market, but I came across this Lime Bike program, which is a little bit unique from a lot of the other programs in the fact that it uses it's a web-based app that doesn't have the stations that need to be set up. So a lot of these other programs, they'll have a station that the municipality, they kind of share costs where they set up these stations where you lock the bike into these stations. These are, it's a web-based app. So you basically drop your bike off here, and when you need a bike, you pull up the app on your phone and find the nearest bike. It pinpoints where that bike is, and you can walk to that bike and take off with it. So I just wanted to show you this quick video. They do a lot better job of explaining it than I do. And and just see what your thoughts were and see if it's something you want to pursue further. Sorry, we're having some IT issues. We're gonna play the video for you through Elaine's computer here.
All across the country, there's now a better way to get around town. Say hello to Lime Bike, a new kind of bike share that's all about making the most of your time and city. Look for a bike near you. Unlock it with your phone. And just like that, you've got wheels to get wherever you're going. Lime Bike puts you in control. Control of when you leave, how much it costs, and what you see along the way. And the best part, Lime Bike has no talks. When you're done riding, just lock up wherever you are and leave that bike for whoever needs it next. So say goodbye to sitting in traffic or wondering when you'll get there and start riding with Lime Bike. It's the easiest, funnest, fastest way to get wherever you're going. Lime Bike, your ride, anytime.
I talked with the representative of Lime Bike, and you think there's a high rate of vandalism or theft on these, and he said something like 2%, and they expect that to go down further. They have a mechanism in there where the bike will actually lock its wheels if it's moving and it's not supposed to be. It's a safe method. It doesn't flip somebody over on the bike or anything like that. But so they've thought the process through. The other thing is, if a bunch of bikes get conglomerated in one area of the city, they send somebody out and they'll spread them out again and make sure that the coverage is there. And then they'll also notice if a lot of bikes are being used in this one section, they'll try to put more in this area. I've also spoke with High Wesleyan, and they've shown an interest in this also. So we'll kind of work with them also on something like this, I think. So if it's something you think we should pursue further, we can and maybe get a representative here and kind of give us a rundown of how the program might work in Delaware.
What's the cost for something like that?
There's not a cost to us for us. They handle the cost, and that's where the unique. That's why I think it might be good for us, is because especially as a trial program, we don't have any docking stations. That's where usually the cost comes in, is when you have the docking stations that you have to locate around town. These don't have docking stations.
How many bikes are you thinking? Or did they decide that? Or
I don't know. I think we want to talk with High Wesleyan and see how many they think, and just kind of. I think we'd like to try it and see how it works, and if it's popular or not.
How far would you go? I mean, like somebody ride a bike from downtown out to the Y.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, I think that would be I think there'd be a few bikes that would be parked out the Y, and people could go back and forth.
So the Y would be an excellent place to put one of those docking stations in.
Well, there are no docking stations, and you just park it right next to a bike parking rack.
Okay.
And it kind of you lock it when you leave, and then when you open up your app and you come up to it, it'll unlock.
how does
Okay.
it lock?
It's got a little mechanism. I think you can see. It's like on the back wheel, like up on that top, right up there, like where Elaine's pointing on that one corner picture. It's like right there. It's got a little lock that just locks down on there. And that's the nice thing, is you don't need the docking station, so you can just park it anywhere, and that also helps people. You don't have to go to a docking station to pick up one of these bikes. You just find the nearest one with your phone out.
Does this group, do they have recommendations for cities this size, cities maybe that are affiliated with a small college?
I think that's what would be of interest to them, is the city of or with a small college in it. The college campuses obviously attract more users. So also a bike-friendly city. We're not the most bike-friendly, but I think there's enough bike lanes and everything that it could be something. I just don't know if this is something that is going to be a big hit in Delaware, but with this program, I think we could give it a try and find out.
Do they
without
advertise at
investment.
all? Like, how would we get the word out that this was a thing?
The green bikes probably riding down there, but they would advertise. We'd probably have to put out some social media and just kind of do a little bit of a campaign. We probably work with the health department. I think Abby's she's talked about the bike share program, but it's just there's a lot of unknowns. But I think it's something that we could try and find out.
So help me get the picture here. Without a docking station, the bicycles are just left like on the street?
Yeah.
On the sidewalk?
Right. And like if they start piling up again and they get too many in this one spot, they have people that they take their vans and everything and move them around again. And if it becomes a problem where they can't be in they're creating a clutter in this one area, then I think they have some solutions where they'll start moving those bikes around or maybe even putting in some type of bike racks or something where it can be kind of cleaned up.
So there are designated spots that will be assigned.
No, not necessarily. I think the Y would be one, but not not like the bike, like if you've been downtown Columbus, they have designated spots where they have these big long racks where you park the bike, and that's where you have to park it, and you have to walk to your destination. Nice thing about this is you can park it anywhere.
Anywhere there's a bike rack or anywhere?
Just about anywhere. I mean, and that's part of the thing is we don't want to like throw them on doorsteps and then, you know, front steps to anywhere, but we might have to put some more bike racks. And that's one of the things we are looking at is doing an inventory of bike racks downtown and seeing where we need more of them.
I'm just trying to figure out how do you stop someone from making one their own personal vehicle to and from their house?
It'll
Downtown
lock.
to their house.
It can
The
happen.
back wheel, but the back wheel locks.
Yeah, but if you park it in front of your house, yeah, I mean, somebody could come and take that bike
Right.
because, yeah, that's definitely, you run that risk that it may not be there when you come back out of wherever you're at.
Is there a fee to the user?
Yeah, I think it's $1 an hour.
So there's some connection to the user in the event that somebody just has it for like a week, they know who has it, or at least they have access to it.
Mhm.
Jeremy, would there be any problem if the Y did become a big destination, if there were multiple bikes left there overnight or anything like that?
No, we would probably require them to put them in the bike racks.
Yeah.
out front.
Mhm.
But as far as when people leave their bikes there now, at their own risk, but we wouldn't have any thing against them being there. The only thing I would ask is there an age? I mean, I can see a group of kids getting apps and riding bikes.
You have to have an account on the app, so yeah, you have to have a way to
Have
pay
access
for
to
it. So I mean, your parent or somebody would have to put in a credit card number. And the other thing is it's not an exclusive arrangement. Like if another bike share company wanted to come in, we're not obligated to use this one bike share company. So.
That sounds cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely think it seems worth looking into.
Okay.
Seems pretty genius.
Yeah, I know. So, and I think what I'll do is maybe next month I'll invite this guy to come, the local rep, to come and maybe speak with you a little bit more about it and see how, and maybe give us an idea of how they would set the program up in Delaware.
I wonder if that's like a membership fee. In that one box, it says $29.95 for locals, $14.95 for students.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely think it's worth looking into.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to Ohio Wesleyan a little bit more about it and then also see how they would set this program up in Delaware if we did decide to go forward with it. Okay. I'll keep the line in the loop too then. Yeah. Because it does move people. So.
I think one thing to ask the company, and maybe they've run into it, is if I got a bike and rode out to the Y and worked out to whatever, I came back and someone took the bike, now I'm like, how am I gonna get back?
Yeah.
Because you know what they're gonna do is they're gonna go to the front desk and be like, hey, Jeremy, I need to get home. I rode a bike here, but it's gone.
I mean, that is definitely a risk, but
Right.
yeah. Now, if the Y gets a lot of comments like that where people lost their bike, they'll probably start loading a few more bikes out there and leaving them there,
Right.
distributing them out there a little bit more because of the demand for them. So, I mean, they want people to use them, so they'll spread them out. I mean, $1 an hour seems like a little bit. It doesn't seem like much, but they're doing pretty well with this concept.
I mean, how do you prevent, if you take the bike and you go someplace and you use your app and somebody else is looking for a bike on their app and, oh, well, it's right over here, but it was the bike you were using.
Once you
And
dock
you're not-
it, it's not yours anymore. Once you lock it, it's
Yeah,
not yours.
once you lock it.
Really?
Yeah, somebody can come get it.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
in
Either that-
theory, like at the Y, you would
Somebody else
think
would
that
come
as many
later.
people would come as
Yeah.
people would be leaving. It
Exactly.
should balance itself out
Should.
in a popular destination like that. Now, that's
Right.
not to say that it wouldn't on a particular day, but that's what it should happen. It should happen.
My thought is that it probably works like you're checking out of the library. So let's say you do have it for 4 hours and you do lock it. It's probably yours for that 4 hours.
No, probably not.
No, you just said you can get it. If there's one locked up close, you can take it.
I would think it just doesn't lock. That if you have it unlocked, that it's yours. If you park it somewhere, you're gonna need to.
Then you just get it for free.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have to lock it yourself, because once you lock it,
Yeah.
I think it would open itself up to availability.
And I think that would be an option because as long as you're paying for it, they don't really care, but you'd have to probably lock it yourself. And
Well, if you're the only one with the code, I don't know.
well, there's
That
no
was just-
code. It's
Oh, okay.
it's through the app, and the app like transmits a signal to unlock the bike.
Yeah, we need them to come explain this.
Yeah, I know, there's a lot of questions,
Because I know
but,
they know a lot more than.
but I would also like them to maybe set up how they would institute it in Delaware too,
Yeah.
so that you could get a better feel of how this would actually work in Delaware.
Ted, is there any liability to the city for letting this type, like rideshare stuff in? If someone got hurt or whatever happened?
I don't think there would be any liability. I can find out for sure, but these programs are in other cities right now, so I'll find out if it affects our liability at all, or if it's all on the company.
The other thing I was thinking was, and I don't know if they still do it, but the Red Cross used to hand out bike helmets in like April. It'd be kind of nice to figure out a way to coincide the two. Just, I mean, it doesn't say you need to wear a helmet to ride a bike, but it'd be nice.
No, I mean, in our state, you'd have to follow the laws. Do you have to wear a helmet? If you're a certain age, don't you?
Under certain
None?
kids, they
Okay. So you would have to follow the laws. If they change that law, then, yeah, I mean, you'd have to.
Just thinking of also another organization to tie into it,
Okay.
because they do a lot with bike safety.
Yep. Okay. Well, and the other thing is I'll involve Officer Hatcher. He's our big bike guy in Delaware. Keep him in the loop and get his feedback also. So, yeah, there's a lot of people to get, but I kind of wanted to just bring it to this board first and just see what your thoughts were and see if it's something we can move forward or. Okay.
I don't know if my position to say anything or not, but, I was mentioning to you how the Delaware commissioners have this new committee where you can put in for grants. And that's not out yet, but it's going to be. This might be the perfect thing for a new idea for a grant from the Delaware County Commissioners Trail Committee. It's just a thought for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, the nice thing about this is we don't have to pay any money. That we don't have an investment in it.
If you decide to put in some
Oh yeah, some more to make it.
infrastructure.
Well, the other thing I think is it will give us some data on where people are biking in the city, which would be helpful to us also. So, that'd be another side benefit that I think would be really good.
It sounds like there is support to move forward and get more information for sure.
Okay, so like I said, I'll see if I can get a representative here at our next meeting, and also how they would set this up in Delaware and how it would be released. Okay. And then I'll also get with Ohio Wesleyan and YMCA and some of the individuals that are some of our stakeholders and just see how they'd like to be involved and what their thoughts are also. Okay.
Okay. Next is the discussion and recommendation of smoking restrictions at city parks.
Okay, so I looked at a few different cities to see what they have done with smoking restrictions or smoking bans in the city parks. And I don't know if you've had time to read through it, but I mean, there's a few, one in Genoa Township, they've had it for a while. I tried to get hold of Paul Weiss, but I never got in touch with him. But, when I've talked to him before, he's never really had, I mean, they had their few problems, I think, initially, but I think, once the ban was in effect, it kind of was accepted and people moved on with it. But one recent one, or not too recently, but POW put in a soft ban, which basically means, they put the ban in, but they didn't enforce it. So, I mean, that seems to be working well. So some of the more recent ones are Grove City and Hilliard are moving to put a ban in. And yeah, I think the same issues that you guys brought up last time or what they're facing is how do you enforce that? So I guess I just wanted to kind of give you some examples of what some other communities are doing. It does seem to be more and more people are interested in looking at this topic. And so or more communities are more looking at this topic. And I know we have some people that may want to speak about this a little bit too in the audience. So is there anything you guys want to say?
Do you want to come up here?
Yep, and just state your name and address.
I'm Abby Trimble, and I'm from the Delaware General Health District at 1 West Winter Street. And like Ted said, I also followed up. I called Sunbury. They've had a ban in their park for quite quite a long time. And he said they don't really have any issues. He said they'll get parents calling in occasionally, but really it kind of enforces itself. So they don't really see too much issue. They just kind of rely on the signs and kind of that peer-to-peer, enforcement type of thing. And I think, like Ted said, that's kind of what you see a lot with the enforcement. I have seen, and I don't remember if it was local, but examples of like, finding people and stuff, but I don't think that's the route that you guys are interested in or that we would recommend as the Tobacco Coalition to find people. I think really what you're going to find is it gives the public a voice. If you have that, say, hey, there's a ban, hopefully there's that respectful, voice that says, would you mind not smoking around my children, that kind of thing. From a health department's perspective and also from the Tobacco Coalition, I mean, we would be willing to help with educational messaging, incorporating any of that as far as if you have youth athletic events and things like that, maybe there's a message that goes out with the application, or if the Y is willing to post things, if they're providing sports and stuff. I mean, those are options, but I think that's kind of best practice to kind of have that educational piece, just so the community is aware of what the ban is, what it means, and just kind of why you're banning tobacco. It's for youth. It's I do have examples of best practices. There's a really good one out of Minnesota. They have a whole ordinance. I'd be happy to share that with the group if you guys want to discuss it further. Just on common language and kind of why it's to keep it out of the hands of the youth. We're kind of being role models in our community as adults, and by not smoking in front of them and kind of creating that norm and that culture that, smoking is not what we want to see or what we want our kids to get a hold of, and that it's not normal. So that's one of the big messages. That's really all I had. I mean, I have plenty of information I'm willing to share if you're interested. I don't know how we do that here, but of sample policies, the Delaware Township adopted this similar policy out of Minnesota that's kind of a best practice. So it does exist in other areas of our community. So, and it really gives that youth message and kind of us being leaders in the community. So that's what I have to offer. So any questions for me?
Has there been anywhere it's not been well received?
I mean, locally, I haven't found that. I mean, I think, like Ted said, there might be some initial pushback, but I think really with education and stuff, I've not seen that, just from what I've heard. And I don't know, Len might be able to speak more to that, but in my time and what I've seen, I have not. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think with the right education, giving the right message out, I think, kind of having all those pieces to it, not just saying, here's a ban, good luck. I mean, having the right signage and all that in the right places. So no, I really, just from what I was able to gather. So, and I also talked to Pal too, so should have talked to Ted first. But they just said it really hasn't been an issue for them at all. So.
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of issues with communities. I mean, not to say that, you don't know everything that went on during that whole process, but they seemed to all be moving along. It wasn't a quick process. I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing, but once they got through the hiccups, I think they were glad they did it.
I see the remark, ban smoking in parks and township grounds. You know the rules for City of Delaware grounds, properties? Or is there any rules now as far as smoking?
No.
Just the buildings?
Just the buildings, yeah. And I think we mentioned last time we put the Young Lungs at Play signs up around playgrounds just to kind of deter smoking around those areas. But we don't have any regulations in place right now.
Off the top of my head, I'd probably be in favor of city grounds as well as parks, but I want to run that through other examples just to be sure.
Well, what does it take to get it, like a legislation or something, permit?
I think this board need to make a recommendation to city council. And then at that point, one of the things I'd probably request is the golf course be exempt from the smoking ban. That's a lot of times, a lot of cities did that. I know they exempted the golf courses because there's a lot of smoking that goes on at the golf courses, and that exemption was in place in a lot of these I saw. But that was the only one.
Ted, this discussion also started with this board because I'm not sure, I don't remember where it came in from, but there was a request to put up those signs at the ballparks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of turned into more of this bigger discussion. So would is that still part of this entire?
Yeah, I think that's still an option out there. I mean, I think that could be one of the options. I think one of the cities, they banned, I don't know if, but they banned smoking from ball fields, playgrounds, like a certain distance. Like it was
That
like
Powell
15
has that
feet.
example. I think like they're 50 feet from like restrooms and shelter houses and playgrounds, and I didn't get the whole list, but kind of that's a similar idea.
And is that the right distance? Because in some it says 30 feet and some it says 15 feet. Is there?
I mean, the more the better.
I mean, I gotta be honest, I would think it'd be much easier to just ban it in the entire park than to try to get a measurement out of it.
Yeah.
Because someone's gonna be like, I'm 16 feet, I'm good. So,
Right.
I mean, it would just be much easier to enforce it for the entire area.
I agree.
Or the area around the ball fields. I mean, we see a lot of the smoking in the stands, behind the backstops, and they say, well, not anywhere where the kids, but it's into the dugouts and everything
Right.
else. So if it was, around the ball fields, or if you're in the parking lot. But we have people sitting in the stands or around the backstops where the kids are. And
But I would just think, Smith Park, for example, it's anywhere within Smith Park, whether you're on tennis courts, ball fields, football field, playground, doesn't matter. I think it would just be much easier to enforce that way. I agree with you. Parking lot is what it is, but ideally it'd be there as well, but I don't care.
Right.
But I think it'd just be much easier for everybody versus trying to get a distance.
And the signs could be right as you enter the park. Anyone who enters the park would see these signs that smoking not permitted or whatever.
Yeah, around the ball fields too. It's a lot easier for us to help spread that message.
Yeah.
We already do that with our parents and our coaches. Is that when our coaches have their meeting, they remind the parents that, we don't allow smoking and things around kids. But if there's a sign there, if we have our umpire coordinator and there's somebody standing there, they can say, we're going to ask you to step away from here because this is a non-smoking area.
That gives your coaches a voice too then. And that's a lot of the examples I saw of the education piece. It was like incorporated into, encouraging coaches and to have that conversation, or at least share that information with the parents and everything, like maybe at that first meeting, soccer practice or whatever with the kids and stuff. So definitely part of that process. The district would also, when it comes to signage, that would be a lot of signs. We might be able to help with a little bit of that. We could also help with the design. We've got several designs. I know you already have one, but if you decide to include other tobacco products such as e-cigarettes and stuff, there's newer logos and things out there now that we can help provide that as well. So we'd be willing to help with the design and stuff. So
Would this just be for cigarettes?
Smoking in general, I think.
yeah,
Cigars.
it's encouraged
vapor,
all tobacco
vapors.
products. So dip, all those things that kids are seeing, all tobacco products would be our recommendation.
Yeah, because even the vapors, or is that what they're called, the vapors?
Yeah, vapes. And,
Vapes.
Yeah, there's all kinds of names out there.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are including in their bans.
And we have many ways to effectively communicate this as well. And registration forms, Jeremy, for T-ball all the way up to, youth league baseball, soccer. We have many ways to effectively communicate this non-smoking ban. So besides signage.
Right, we can communicate it in our hand out some things that we give to coaches. Some of them we give a coaching packet that has a parent code of conduct in it. So some of them use it, some of them don't. It's not mandatory that you do, but we highly suggest it for our coaches. It's there for their use. So that information can be added to that. But every coach that we have signs a coach's code of conduct. So it would definitely be on theirs. If it's not already. I think it already is. I don't remember. Yeah.
Can I leave the sample policy with you?
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments?
If I say a couple of words?
Yes.
Well, I'm Lynn Fisher, and I chair the Delaware County Tobacco Free Coalition. And,
Hey, Lynn,
and I'm at,
could you give us your address too?
yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm 2020 Park Lawn Drive in beautiful downtown Lewis Center, Ohio. And I got involved with tobacco in the first place because my locker partner in high school had such terrible asthma problems. He took one whiff of tobacco anywhere and he was gone. Sometimes he had to be taken to the hospital and sometimes he had to go home. It was pretty terrible. And I believe to this day he could have been a terrific athlete. But there was tobacco everywhere in those days. And now still around our parks, sometimes around our ball fields, and you still find tobacco. And I was a big part of making the state of Ohio, the Clean Indoor Air Act in Ohio. And you'd be interested to know that about 1 month after that law went into effect, children's hospitals, cases of asthma and people dying from asthma, all those numbers were cut more than in half. So it's pretty important for kids. And sometimes you don't hear about those kids because they can't go out, they can't go to parks. The parents might pay for parks in their taxes, but the kids can't use the parks. And you probably have no idea how many kids there are like that. So it's a pretty important thing. And I might mention that if you have a discussion on what kinds of tobacco or what kinds of things you should probably try to banish, I think anything, including the smokeless tobacco products and all the other things, because it becomes a real mishmash to try to enforce some things or let people think you're going to enforce some things and not others. And then, well, he's doing it, but why can't I, and all that kind of stuff. And we don't even know the ramifications of smokeless tobacco yet. And it's still being studied. So if our coalition can be of any help to you when you're trying to come up with some legislation, and we're in the coalition together, and we've got some pretty interesting people in the coalition that represent a lot of different kinds of interests. So we'd be glad to help you. But I hope, beyond hope, that you'll come up with a good plan to banish tobacco and tobacco products and all nicotine products from your parks. Thank you.
So the next steps is, are we making a recommendation to city council to review this, or what do we need to do?
If you want to, one thing I would like to get input also is from the chief to see, I could present this policy to him also. But yeah, I mean, you could make a recommendation tonight to city council, or we could get, I don't know if there's any other questions you have or other input you'd like to see on this.
Any other questions or comments?
Would this ban also be for adult league softball?
It's in the parks, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. All right, thank you.
Do we want to see this whole thing finalized and then recommend it, or? I think that's what we want, yeah.
Okay. We can look at that.
Is that?
Well, I guess obviously we don't make legislation, so are we waiting to see something drafted, or do we just send it to council and then they start working on that side of things?
I think you could send it, like, I think Abby has a good start here with this draft. I mean, I think we'd fill in our blanks in here, and then I think it'd be good for the chief to take a look at it also. And then I could bring this back, this with the updated version of this to next month and see you can see it in your packet and see if it's something you wanted to recommend to council. If that sounds all right.
I like that idea.
And then usually what we see is the committee voted unanimously to approve this, and we just go, yep, looks good. And because of that, really the work's kind of done here.
And I think I could work with Abby on this too, and we could kind of maybe put our heads together and get this finalized between the two of us and send it to you. Hopefully I didn't speak for you. If you're all right with that. Okay.
Just so I'm clear what we're talking about, it's within every city park, all tobacco, nicotine products, is that what we're saying?
I think that's what we're looking at now, if we want to keep looking at that.
Just want to make sure.
We would, like I said, I would like to accept a golf course from that, just with, I know it is a park, but I don't know if that would limit the number of players that would use the golf course. We're trying to keep as many players out there as we can.
Does anybody have a problem with exempting the golf course?
I don't think you can serve beer and take away cigarettes.
Right.
It's kind of.
Moving in opposite directions.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
So
that can be down the road, it seems like this is the direction that people are going, and sooner or later it's going to keep expanding. I think one of the policies in here was talking about back when you could smoke on airplanes and restaurants and all this kind of stuff, which seems ludicrous right now. So, I mean, we're headed in the right direction. I don't think we need to do everything all at once. So I think exempting the golf course would be a good phase one.
So it sounds like the parks with the smoking restrictions, but we're going to fill out. You're going to get this
I'll
put
work with Abby
together,
to get a kind of a final
and
version of
then
this.
get with the chief also.
Yep, and then
we'll
other
look at
staff
it
members,
again.
and then present at the next board meeting
Okay.
next month.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? Okay, well then we'll go to the neighborhood park concept.
So we have this, I think everybody's probably pretty aware of the property out, should be located on here, but so the YMCA is right here. And this piece of property is on the west side of House Road. And it's owned by the city right now. This development's kind of moving up. Pulte's putting homes in up here. They do have a proposed road that Pulte's putting in. The city won't be putting this road in. So we've had this piece here for a while. So we're looking at now just doing some conceptual planning for this piece. And I wanted to get input from the board, and we also need to get input from the public at this. But right now, it's just a draft plan. We're not doing anything out there right now. And what the plan we're proposing is we have two different areas. We have a woodland area and then a agriculture area. This is farm right now. So what we're looking at doing is preserving the woodland and putting a trail in through there. This trail will be on the path of least resistance, going around the woods, and kind of creating more of a fitness type of approach where we can kind of combine with the Y, right? An obstacle course. That kind of puts an example are pretty popular amenities now in some of the parks where people like to do some CrossFit training and stuff like that. But also a mile loop around with some obstacle course, but also some natural play area on the inside right now. And the reason the natural play is kids are using it now as natural play, so we might as well continue that use in there. And plus, it's a low maintenance. Kids just go in the woods and play. They build forts and that kind of stuff. And we kind of can cater to it a little bit, with some logs and try to do a little bit of it. But they find their own way, and they do a lot of that themselves. So with the area that's agricultural, this will be future phases. We may look at some like a detention area up in this low spot with possibly another shelter. Shelter uses are very popular, and I think kind of catering with a nice facility. It might even it create another good shelter location where our shelters are rented regularly. So I think this would be another popular location. The other thing is, I know we've talked about cricket fields here in the past. So looking at a multi-use athletic field where we have soccer and cricket, I think this is how that would lay out. The soccer field, the cricket pitch would be in between the two fields. That's when last time we talked with the cricket folks, they they didn't want the portable cricket pitch. It just wasn't something that was kind of unsafe, they thought, and so they wanted more of a permanent cricket pitch. But with the size of these cricket fields, it's really hard to dedicate a whole field to crickets, the sport of cricket, because it's just so huge. You can see these are 2 full-size soccer fields, but we put up both sides of them. So at least we have a multi-use athletic field complex there. The other idea kind of threw out here was they call it it's not a cheap option, but there's not one in Delaware right now, so it's something to consider too. Miracle fields are basically turf or playground material where wheelchairs, all kinds of accessible to disabilities, and this would be a good option. They can also be used for T-ball too. So I mean, it's something we don't have, but and it's just something we want to look at. We have a basketball court, parking in the restroom, and again the trail, circling the whole site. So we wanted to get your thoughts, see what this would be future phases. We don't have the money to do anything like this right now. I think that the first phase would include part of this trail around there. I think we have right now in our budget, we have like $139,000. So that trail would be an option the first phase, but we could maybe look at doing some of the obstacle courses now. Of course, the natural play area is done itself already. So let's see what your thoughts were, and if you have any comments, so we can start moving this plan and working on it.
My biggest thought, I probably live like 500 yards away from where that's going in right now.
Okay.
So I am concerned about traffic. I'm also concerned that it's backing right into a neighborhood. Do we have anything like that now in the city that backs into the neighborhood?
Like a park like this size? Stratford. Stratford is one. It's a park about that size. It doesn't have it's got athletic fields in the middle, nothing like but it doesn't have a parking lot. And we do have some other, like the Wetland Park is considered more of a neighborhood park. It's larger, it doesn't have any of the active sports in it though. It does have a parking lot. We do have I can't remember the name of the park, but they have, so we have soccer fields out there, just north of here is at Lexington. We have the soccer fields in there. There's no parking. They have a couple spaces there. So the parking is something that's a little newer. Boulder Drive is going to be more of it's not a major thoroughfare. I wouldn't consider it that, but yeah, and that is a concern. We're going through looking at some designs on there. That was a concern whether, we're bringing a lot of people into a neighborhood area. Across the street with the park there, that's considered a community park. This, I guess, what I consider a little bit of an extension to it, but serving more of the neighborhood. But that's definitely something to consider. We thought about that also. But that's a good point. And that's where the public feedback, I want to get more public feedback to see what their thoughts are on something like that. So kind of the more active space is something that concerns you a little bit with this being in
I
a
wouldn't say it's a
neighborhood.
concern. It was more just an observation as I was looking at it.
Okay.
That and just, it seems like there's a lot of redundancy with that and what's at the Y already.
Well,
Other than the Miracle Field, I mean.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't want to do I was trying to avoid that too, with just the plain athletic fields. I know we don't have basketball courts over there, so that's one of the reasons we put a basketball court over in here. The Miracle Field, or even if it became like more of a T-ball field, we don't have that over there. We do have the soccer fields over there. We do have the trail around there. But we do, and that's one of the reasons we don't have just a traditional playground in here. We have the playground over there. We wanted more of a more of a natural play area, something a little bit different than so that's there.
I love it. I love the natural play area and the obstacle course. Just there's nowhere else to have kids go out and play in the woods like that.
Mm-hmm.
In Delaware, I like those two concepts.
I think too, if we can get the cricket out there, I mean, if we think that's going to be a draw, which it seems like it based on what they've told us it could be, there's no sense in not adding a couple. I mean, the soccer is kind of a wash at that point. It's just extra fields. You've got the space.
Correct.
I think it's a good use of the space, honestly.
I have a couple of thoughts for you. A, I love the overall concept. I think it's great. On the cricket, my guess is they're going to want an asphalt or concrete pitch.
Correct, yeah.
Check with Dublin because I know their Emerald Fields. I'm pretty sure they use a sand. It's permanent, so it's not a portable one, which I agree is better. But the problem is if you put a concrete pitch between the two soccer fields, then you make the soccer fields a little bit unsafe because there's still out of bounds play happening. So if you've got a concrete pitch and kids running in cleats, then they get that and slip. I mean, you can tell just from the picture there, it's pretty tight right against those fields.
Yeah.
So Dublin uses a sand, which I think they would prefer. I think the cricket clubs would prefer not to have it, but it's better than the portable ones. So it's kind of a good mix in between, and it drains very well too. So it doesn't become slick when it rains or anything else along those lines.
Is the pitch raised up or is it flush with the ground?
Flush
It's fairly flush.
Would you be able to cover it with anything?
I mean,
Like,
it's-
can you
it's-
put it down like just enough that you can lay a piece of turf over it or something?
I
don't know
don't
enough.
think cricket ideally does. I think it's pretty flush with the ground because, I mean, when they wind up and pitch and bounce the ball off, it kind of sails in, so.
Probably the only thing you can put over would be like a tarp.
Which isn't gonna do a whole lot safety wise.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I think the sand has been a good option because Emerald Fields and Dublin uses those lacrosse fields as well. I know they overlap a little bit, very similar to what that does. So they can be multi-use fields. The other thing with the Miracle League, I think it's a great idea, something you might want to consider to make it a truly handicap accessible park is looking at a handicap focused playset. If you're going to be inviting with kids with wheelchairs to that park and developing a field for it, that's what the Miracle Field in Dublin has is literally right next to the field is a wheelchair accessible playset for the kids to play on.
You know, I thought about that too here, but the playground across in the Y is an inclusive playground there also. So I mean, I know it's not right next to it,
Right.
but I didn't want to double up, that facility, and that's why there's not even a playground in this park except for the natural play area.
Yeah, which makes sense. I'm just thinking if you're going to, if the Miracle League takes onto it and starts bringing kids in the area, it gives some of the kids something to do if they're not in the middle of the game because
Correct.
otherwise they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and you can see we have some room, and I expect this plan to change as we go through the feedback stages. So that's something that is a possibility.
Orange Township's building a cricket pitch as we speak, in case you want to check with them, see what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, this concept is one I found that in that area in there between there, I think there's some like buffer areas. So like this outside line is kind of these two lines is kind of the no man's land where it's like a safety zone, and then so like this pitch is still off the field a little bit enough. So I can look into that more, and maybe it can be spread out even more. But that sand is definitely, if that's an option, that would definitely.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably not going to be their first choice, but I think it's better than a temporary option. Just like them know, hey, look, we need a little give and take here. We want to help you create the field, but we also need to make sure that they're accessible in other ways besides just cricket. So, I mean, it's becoming a popular sport. I know that they're expanding into the rec program in Dublin, creating a cricket league. So it continues to grow.
We have 3 teams locally and from Delaware. Probably a lot of people don't even know that, but we have 3 teams that are based in Delaware.
No idea.
I know.
Any other questions or comments about the park? What's the next step with that then?
I'll probably start getting some more public feedback, and as things progress on this, I'll give you updates on that and see where we go with it.
Roughly how big is that whole space?
15, or no, I think there's like 15 acres of woods and then 15 acres of agricultural field.
Did you have a timeline for it?
For construction of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, most of the city council would like to see it done last year. That money's been there a while, so I think the initial phases will be some of, maybe the trail network, and some of the natural play area. And as you can see, future phases would be some more of the active areas. So I think if we could do something this year, that'd be great.
When is the road building?
That's not determined yet. But
I'm sorry, what's the hurry of doing something if there's not a road to get to it?
Well, the initial phases, we could do something out here where the public can still get in here, but this intersection might be developed this summer, potentially, with Houck Road, a little bit more, but I think we wanted to have something planned and ready to go, so when these neighborhoods do come up to it, which I don't think we long. I don't know if you've seen this later, but I think they're building homes like in that spot. So it's going to happen soon. I think party council is they want to see something planned out here rather soon.
It's a crime.
We talking phase 1 this year, phase 2 next year?
I could see that. I would see phase 1 maybe possibly this year. Because phase 1's not real in depth, but again, we need to get some more public feedback to make sure we're going in the right direction with everything here.
Any other comments or feedback? And we'll move on to the review of the Parks and Natural Resource fourth quarter report.
I just wanted to see if there's any questions on there. Some of the highlights, I'll just be quick with it. During the winter months, we don't have a lot of stuff where, we're kind of taking care of odds and ends. The pool deck is out there. We'll be opening that up again this summer, so that'll be a big improvement out there. I think we're going to do some things with some of there's a little room off to the side that's always been glass. It has never really been accessible. So with this new deck configuration, that'll be a little more accessible. And I think we're looking at doing something with darts to do that. We are moving forward with our cemetery master plan, having a kind of a kickoff meeting tomorrow with the consultants. So we're kind of excited about that to get some direction out there. You can see some of the community outreach. So we did so the Bruce Road Trail concept, and then also the Ross Street park improvements. We got some input back. The Bruce Road Trail concept is overwhelmingly supported. We got a huge response on that with that public meetings, and then also through SurveyMonkey. We got 331 responses, which is pretty big for that small community. So that was good. The thing at Ross Street Park, what we learned with our surveys out there is, I think they want to see more passive park space out there. They don't want to see as much active space, no athletic fields or basketball courts or anything like that, more passive park space. So that was really helpful. I think that's how we'll go forward with developing that concept plan for that park. Those are pretty much the highlights. If there's any questions on there, are these reports helpful? I mean, do you like the information that's in there? Do you want to see the information any different? Okay. Let me know if something could be changed around or improved in there.
Any comments? Okay, then we'll move on to staff comments. Any further comments?
We have the Healthy Kids event. When is that?
In April.
April 28th. To see if you guys were going to want to be there and have a table.
We did that this year, and I think we would probably be able to get some members there this year again. We just need to make sure we actually have a few things.
We'll have some few things there.
I appreciated the sign and the polka dot tablecloth.
Yeah, we'll definitely have some of that. I'll see about getting some giveaways too.
What day did you say that was?
It's April 26th or 8th. It's over at the Y. There's a lot of people that come through, and that's where they were giving out bike helmets. The Kiwanis Club, I think, was doing it this year. And there's just a lot of Delaware resources there. So it's a good place to have the board and a good place to collect any public input. So I don't know if like this would be
I
ready to
think
be
that might be
shared.
something we could, yeah.
We could have something like that there.
Absolutely.
April 20th.
There'll be tennis there too.
So yeah, I think we should definitely count on a table there. We can get at least a couple of board members there for sure. Just need to get with you to get some swag.
Okay.
I suggest having an activity for the children.
Yes,
That's a suggestion.
Yes.
that gets people to the table for sure. Any other staff comments? Is that a no from Ted? He looks like he was.
Nope, nope,
Okay.
no other staff comments, sorry.
All right. Any member comments? Nothing? Quiet group tonight? Okay, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
We are, nope, sorry. Now we are adjourned at 8:04. Everybody